Wow, thank you all so much. So yes, my name is John Naizer, a software engineer at Microsoft, and I'm super excited to share with you my team and I's story of how Grafana impacted us and how we, in turn, impacted Grafana. So let's start from ground zero, rewind the clock all the way back to the beginning of our journey. Our organization at Microsoft had a clear need for a modern data visualization solution, one that's fresh, flexible, one that keeps up with today's fast pace in the industry. This solution would then lay the foundation for what we call our executive dashboards, a one-stop shop where leadership and teams can go and track metrics, spot trends, make faster, smarter decisions together without getting stuck in the weeds. These executive dashboards have three key attributes to them: tracking metrics, managing incidents, and providing real-time updates to our key performance indicators, otherwise known as KPIs for our organization. Now, I won't give you the full Grafana sales pitch, but I would love to share with you a few reasons why Grafana is the obvious choice for us. Why Grafana? First off, it's open source. This gives us the total complete freedom to build our own solution that's scalable, customizable, and designed exactly for our needs. We also love that Grafana has an endless stream of plugins and integrations, maximizing the flexibility of our use cases. Next, Grafana's portability, the fact that it could be Dockerized and deployed anywhere, containerized, etc., is huge for us when we want to build and deploy a lightweight but effective solution. This also allows us to move fast, tweak as we grow, and not get boxed into a single setup. Lastly, Grafana's deep integration with Azure-native data sources like Azure Monitor, Azure Data Explorer allow us to plug directly into our telemetry streams, building real rich dashboards displaying real-time data. All in all, Grafana pretty much checked every box we had. It's super cool. Flexibility, scalability, while keeping things open and modular, and honestly, super developer-friendly. However, we had one fork in the road. And it has to do with security. To give you all some context first, I have a simple rhetorical question to ask you all. Who here has forgotten a password before? You all should be raising your hands. I got a better one for you. Who here has a family member that forgot a password, reset your shared account, and didn't tell you? Look, it's common knowledge that passwords by themselves are becoming obsolete for many reasons, and not just that silly one that I previously mentioned. We're seeing more and more things like two-factor authentication, passkeys, and so on. Companies like Microsoft, they even have their own initiative driving the security evolution. And not just for authentication, but holistically, covering all aspects, all facets of security. As our CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, puts it, if you're faced with a trade-off between security and another priority, your answer is clear. Do security. Having this mindset while customizing Grafana authentication specifically for when you log into Grafana as a service, we were actually pleasantly surprised to find that Grafana offered two choices for us. One, an authentication proxy, a DIY solution, putting the power in our hands to customize how we authenticate, how we log into Grafana. And second, even cooler, an Azure-native authentication method built directly into Grafana. However, we quickly realized that this method didn't support an authentication method that we highly desired for our team. The authentication proxy, it was a supported feature, quicker to set up. The drawback, though, it would have required extra infrastructure and even some potential long-term maintenance down the road. If we wanted to implement our own Azure authentication method into Grafana, it would have deepened direct integration with Azure Identity, meaning that we would not have any other infrastructure to set up. The major drawback to this was time. We needed extra engineering effort. Not only that, but we needed extra time to ramp up on Grafana's code base, and also these newer Azure features we were going to implement into the code base. This was the fork in the road, and we could have taken the easy route. Throw an authentication proxy in front and call it a day. But where is the fun in that? We are software engineers. So we dove directly into Grafana's code base and built out the solution we wished already existed. One that would not only move us closer to a future-proof platform for security, but hopefully make life easier for others both inside and outside Microsoft. What was that highly desired authentication method that we had in mind? Well, we're going to use Grot to help us understand this. Think of Grot as a bouncer at a super delicious restaurant that you're in line for. Now, only people who know the secret shared password that Grot originally passed out can enter into this restaurant. So it's your turn in line, you walk up, you bend over to Grot, you whisper the secret password, GrafanaCON 2025, and you enter. The wristband he gave you is your access token. Now, what if instead of a secret shared password, he passed out public-private key pairs, a certificate-based authentication? Now, I personally don't know any bouncers who would do this, but let's just say he does. What do both of these methods have in common? It is what you have that determines who gets in. Again, it is what you have that determines who gets in. Well, what if I told you there was a third way, not based on what you have, but who you are? And some of you may already know this, but it can be analogous to, say, a fingerprint. Applying this technically, think of Grot as an identity provider, say Azure Active Directory, you being the application. Well, internally at Microsoft, we call this managed identity. And just like a fingerprint, you never need to worry about your identity expiring. This completely eliminates the need for credential management altogether. No more remembering secrets, no more having to rotate certificates. This is incredible. Now, what did this new feature look like? Well, this beautiful screenshot will show you. It added a new field under Azure Authentication configuration, and we called it Client Authentication. This now gives users the ability to choose more than just one authentication method when logging into Grafana. This is the idea of accessible security, putting the power in the user's hands to decide how they want to authenticate without jumping through unnecessary hoops, like setting up an authentication proxy. And it doesn't just stop there. The authentication model that we built out in Grafana can be adopted by every other native identity provider inside the service. And this is the kicker. It's based on the OAuth 2 spec. So any identity provider can create their own implementation now and add that as a client authentication option underneath their own configuration. Huh? Pretty cool. I gotta say, going through this open source contribution process, it was a roller coaster. It was my first time contributing at this magnitude, at this scale, and it taught me a lot of lessons. It taught me about collaboration, patience, how many pull request comments it takes to build something that lasts and actually gets merged into the main branch. Not only are you building a new feature, you're building new relationships with the maintainers, Grafana's community, everyone just about as passionate on Grafana as you are. At the end of the day, you're not just pushing code, you're earning trust, one pull request at a time. Trails need blazers, paths need finders, problems need solvers. If any of you are just as interested as I was to contribute to open source, specifically Grafana, be bold. Start small. Dive into Grafana's code base. Find contributors working on the same pain points that you're interested in. Reach out, partner up with them, and champion the solution together. That's exactly what we did. My advice, email, email, email. Be persistent, be bold. If any of you are curious about the work we did to make this magic happen, go ahead and scan this QR code. It'll take you to the GitHub pull request that got merged into the main branch and added this new feature. Again, go light your own torch and don't be afraid to pass it on. Thank you guys so much. I can only hope that our story resonates with each of you, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to share this story with you all. Whether you're just getting started in open source or you're deep in it already, I hope you leave this conference feeling a bit more inspired to build, collaborate, and leave things a little bit better than you found them. Thank you all so much.